Hello everyone, with the Jamaica here. Welcome to this updated video on the weather across Jamaica and the rest of the Caribbean. It is Friday evening, April 4, 2025. Now before we jump into it, please ensure that you guys like the video. I'd really appreciate it if you guys get this video up to 100 likes. If you don't know by now, that's how the YouTube algorithm works. We all like the video and then the YouTube algorithm pushes the video out to more persons who are in the path of these tropical systems, that we can keep everyone safe, especially during the peak months of Atlantic hurricane season, that's August through to October. Share this video with your friends, your co-workers, relatives, and even your church brethren, and subscribe if you haven't yet done so. Please ensure that you all utilize the progress bar that's located at the bottom of the video, as well as the timestamps that are located not only in the comment section, but the video description, so that you can skip to the points in the video that you want to see the most in order to save time, because we know that the videos over here with the Jamaica can be very long. Leave a comment down below letting me know what that's been like in your year recently. Also feel free to ask any weather related question that you might have about the future of the weather in your specific area. Alright, so we're going to be looking at what the next 7 days have in store for us according to the latest Euro and GFS supercomputer model runs that came out today. So keep your eyes focused on the timestamp right here as we go out to the next one, Jan 68 hours, that's the next 7 days. Keep your eyes focused on Jamaica right here as we look for all of this that we see on the key on the right. That's the reds, the oranges, the yellows, and the greens that represents inches of rainfall. So let's see what's going to be taking place. As we head into Saturday morning, what do we see? There's some isolated showers to the north of the island, some isolated showers across eastern parishes too. And then on Saturday afternoon, we see that rainfall across eastern, central, and western parishes. What does the latest GFS show for the same time period? Saturday morning, something similar, rainfall to the north, rainfall across the east. Then on Saturday afternoon, we see that rainfall more so across some northwestern parishes. As we head into Sunday morning, what do we see? We see some greens represent rainfall to the north of the island. Then by Sunday afternoon, we see that rainfall across eastern, central, and western parishes. What does the GFS show for the same time period? Sunday morning has that rainfall toward east or across eastern parishes. Then Sunday afternoon has that rainfall more so across sections of some central and western parishes. Let us see what Monday morning is showing us on the latest Euro. On Monday morning, we see some rainfall extending to the south of the island all the way over to the south of Hispaniola. Then by Monday afternoon, we see that rainfall across the eastern, central, and western parishes. What does the latest GFS show for the same time period? Monday morning on the GFS has rainfall toward west, toward south, and across the northeast. Then Monday afternoon has that rainfall more so across the northwestern parishes. That's what Tuesday has in store for us. On Tuesday morning, we see rainfall toward south, and on Tuesday afternoon, we see rainfall across northern and western parishes. What does the latest GFS show? Tuesday morning, rainfall toward north or west across the south and the eastern areas. Then Tuesday afternoon has that rainfall across especially central and western parishes. Very interesting. Let us see what Wednesday morning has in store for us. On Wednesday morning, we can clearly see that there's not much of anything expected, more white than anything else. That represents sunshine and dry weather. We also see the moisture associated with that possible frontal system extending down to the Bahamas, central Cuba, all the way into the western Caribbean, the Cayman Islands, Honduras right here. Then, by Wednesday afternoon, we see that rainfall across eastern, central, and western parishes. What does the latest GFS show for the same time period? Wednesday morning has some moisture surrounding the island, so it's a bit different from what the Euro was showing, the little to nothing. We also see the moisture associated with the frontal system extending down to the Bahamas, Cuba, and the western Caribbean. Then Wednesday afternoon has that rainfall just like what the Euro was showing across sections of some eastern, central, western parishes. Very interesting. Let's see what Thursday morning has in store for us. On Thursday morning, we see that there's not much of anything on the Euro, but we do see that the moisture across the western Caribbean is pushing eastward, getting closer. Then on Thursday afternoon, we see that rainfall across eastern, central, and western parishes. Then we're going to be stopping right here at the end of the 1 Jan 68 hours, which is actually 7 a.m. on Friday, April 11. We don't see much of anything across Jamaica at that time. We do see the moisture associated with the leftovers of that possible frontal system extending into portions of eastern Honduras, eastern Nicaragua, the southwestern Caribbean right there. Let us see if the GFS is showing something similar. On the Thursday morning, we see that rainfall associated with the possible frontal system affecting portions of the Bahamas, eastern Cuba, Jamaica, the Cayman Islands, eastern Honduras, Nicaragua, Costa Rica, Panama. Then by Thursday afternoon, we see that rainfall across eastern, central, and western parishes. Then we're going to be stopping it right here at the end of the 168 hours, which is also valid for Friday, April 11. We see the moisture across the waters to the southwest of the island, affecting portion of Panama, Costa Rica, eastern Nicaragua, eastern Honduras. We see some moisture across northern and eastern parishes too. So we have some contrast, we have some similarities. It's going to be interesting to see how it all plays out. Either way, in terms of the total accumulated precipitation forecast noise, we know that the most in-depth rainfall on this map is represented by the dark reds into the purples, into the pinks that we can see here on the key on the right. That represents anywhere from 2 to 5 inches of rainfall. And we can clearly see that the 2 to 5 inches of rainfall range is definitely going to be affecting a portion of northern South America, into portions of the Windward Islands right here, sections of Panama, Costa Rica, sections of Central America, Belize, Honduras getting in on some of the action as well. And we can clearly see Belize is going to get a lot of that rainfall, sections of Honduras, sections of Costa Rica, sections of Panama, sections of Colombia, Venezuela, Guyana, Suriname, French Guiana, Trinidad and Tobago, sections of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, sections of Grenada right here. And we clearly see that it's not only the GFS that's showing this, but even the Euromodel is showing something similar. So these areas could definitely get in on some isolated flash flooding for sure. But clearly we see the greens into the yellows into the oranges and the reds. That represents anywhere from 0.1 of an inch of rainfall up to 1 inch of rainfall expected for other areas, such as anywhere from St. Vincent northward. We're talking about St. Lucia, Martinique, Dominica, Guadeloupe, Anguilla, Antigua and Barbuda, Montserrat, St. Kitts and Nevis, St. Martin, the US and British Virgin Islands, Puerto Rico, sections of Hispaniola, sections of the Dominican Republic, Turks and Caicos, Cuba, the Cayman Islands, Jamaica, the Yucatan Peninsula right here. So we're going to be getting on some amount of rainfall within the next 7 days, and we can clearly see that both the Euro and the GFS models are in agreement with that forecast. But regarding Jamaica's total accumulated precipitation forecast over the next 7 days, we can clearly see that it's going to be raining somewhere in Jamaica over the next 7 days. Keep in mind that this map is showing all the rainfall that's expected from now, Friday, April 4, all the way up to Friday, April 11. And we can see the greens, we can see the blues, we can see the yellows into the slight oranges. That represents anywhere from 1 millimeter of rainfall all the way up to maybe 50 millimeters of rainfall. We see that right there on the border of St. James and Hanover, the slight orange that represents up to 50 millimeters of rainfall. And even the GFS is showing something similar, eastern, central, and western parishes shaded in these blues, greens, yellows that represents all the way up to maybe 40 millimeters of rainfall. And we know that most of this rainfall that's going to be plaguing portions of especially central and western parishes is going to be affecting us during the afternoon hours once we've had that daytime heating. And it's going to be interesting to see how it all unfolds, and I'll definitely be here to keep you posted with what occurs on our other social media platforms. Taking a look at the surface map of the Atlantic for this evening, we can see a ridge of high pressure right here to the east of Florida. We can see a frontal system as represented by the blue spike line right here, stretching all the way from northern portion of North Atlantic all the way down to the north of the eastern Caribbean. And we know the ridge of high pressure right here is responsible for sending all of the easterly trade winds across the main development region into the Caribbean. It is this ridge of high pressure that's responsible for all of the very strong easterly trade winds that we've been receiving, doing a lot of damage, lots of dust devils recently for sure, making some persons even sick. So we just hope that persons are taking necessary precautions, that they're not that drastically affected by all of the dust that is being brought by the wind. If we take a look at the visible satellite images of the Atlantic before we lost the sunlight, we can make out the clouds associated with the frontal system extending from northern portion of North Atlantic all the way down to the north of the eastern Caribbean, and we can make out the low level flow and the mid level flow of the clouds being steered from east west, all courtesy of the ridge of high pressure that is to the north. We'll be talking more about the rest of the Caribbean weather later on. Let us focus our attention on the prediction that was made in yesterday's video about weather across Jamaica for today, Friday, April 4, 2025. It was stated that rainfall would have been in the forecast of parts of northeastern Jamaica on Friday morning, also affecting sections of some central and western parishes during Friday afternoon. I know northeastern parishes are basically talking about these areas right here, like Portland and St. Mary. Well, central parishes, we're talking about those parishes in the county of Middlesex, like St. Anne, St. Mary, Manchester, Clarendon, St. Catherine, Well, western parishes, we're talking about these parishes in the county of Cornwall, like Hanover, St. James, Trelawney, Westmoreland, and St. Elizabeth. And what ended up happening? At around 4:09 a.m., the Guantanamo Cuban Doppler radar military radar imagery actually was shown, and it highlighted the greens into the yellows. They represent some isolated showers, most of which was out to sea, but we got some of that across sections of Portland and St. Mary in the early morning hours, just as predicted. So that definitely verified. If you live in Portland or St. Mary, let me know if you woke up to a wet, soaked yard, or whatever the case may be this morning. Let me know to confirm. Then, by around 4:45 p.m., the visible satellite images were posted. And by the way, I'd like her to keep in mind that these posts aren't only made here on our Twitter page with the Jamaica, but they are made on our Instagram page with the Jamaica, on our TikTok page with the Jamaica, and on our Facebook page with the Jamaica 876. So if you have one of those social media platforms, please ensure that you follow us there, as we make posts through the day that you can't afford to miss. So we can see the low level flow of the clouds being steered from east to west today across the island. Then we had that daytime heating causing those clouds to build across sections of northern St. Elizabeth, sections of southern Hanover, sections of Westmoreland got in on the brunt of the thunderstorms that we can see here. We know the sparkling yellow dots represent some amount of lightning strikes, if not lightning flashes. And then when we had that upper level cloud cover, all of that convection, we saw the upper level winds blowing those high cloud tops off towards the southeast, just as predicted. And if we take a look at the visible satellite images of Jamaica before we lost the sunlight, we can see what was taking place. Definitely had that convection burst across northern St. Elizabeth, which pushed out towards the west. We definitely had some bad weather across southern Hanover, sections of Westmoreland got in on the brunt of today's thunderstorm activity. And then we saw that everything was clearing out by the time we're losing the sunlight. And if we take a look at the infrared close-up satellite imagery, we can see what took place. The convection burst, and then the cloud tops being sheared off towards the southeast, just as predicted, with that upper level wind shear. And we see the sparkling white dots represent some amount of lightning strikes, if not lightning flashes. But we definitely had some thunderstorm activity across portion of northern St. Elizabeth, sections of Westmoreland for sure. And if we take a look at the camera here from See Jamaica's YouTube channel, showing the panoramic city view looking towards where we have the National Stadium, definitely very busy with all of what's going on, all of the sporting events recently. You can see that it is very windy, definitely sunny for the most part. Nothing in terms of bad weather taking place at all. And I'd like for you to keep in mind that if you'd like to see more live streams like this, just visit See Jamaica on YouTube. They have these live streams for your viewing pleasure. Not only this panoramic city view on looking towards the National Stadium, but even halfway tree camera, crossroads camera, even the flatbridge camera right there. So just go over to See Jamaica on YouTube and subscribe today so that you don't miss out. Taking a look at the total accumulated precipitation for the past 24 hours from the Caribbean Institute for Meteorology and Hydrology website, this map does indeed paint quite the picture of where we might have had that rainfall today. Firstly, in the morning across sections of some northeastern parishes, maybe even a pushed off to sections of some north central parishes. Then during the afternoon, we had those clouds building across inland areas of some central parishes. So we're talking about northern St. Catherine, southern St. Anne, northern Clarendon, southern St. Anne, southern Trelawney, northern Manchester, northern St. Elizabeth, southern St. James, southern Hanover, and Westmoreland, where we had the brunt of the thunderstorm activity today. And if we take a look at a post that was made here on our Twitter page highlighting the very strong winds that were taking place across the National Stadium, definitely doing some damage, lots of dust devils taking place for sure, doing damage in general, ripping tents apart. And these things can definitely happen given the very strong high pressure ridge that we have to our north, causing a lot of very windy conditions recently. We just hope that persons are being vigilant, because boy, we don't want to be injured by any flying projectiles at all. And it's not only this video clip that came out today, even another one on a football field where we saw some players filming, we saw zinc flying, and then we had a whole dust devil by the time everything was said and done. I mean, look, at all of the dust that was there spinning. This is just ridiculous these days. Lots of strong winds in general can cause all of this to happen. So boy, just so persons are not being foolish and trying to jump into those, because we know that there could be some flying debris that could cause injury for sure. Alright, so let's take a look at some of the comments here. I think we have a few that came on some of our social media platform. We have Active 4081 sitting place. Coleman posted 47 minutes ago. And even on our Instagram page, we had a few comments coming in. One here from Dr. C underscore Johnson stating windy in Kingston. One here from Razor underscore G underscore stating windy in St. Thomas. We also have Giovanni Panton stating Spanish Town sunny. And I indeed thank you all for the comments to confirm what the weather was like in your ear. Alright, so let us reload the very latest still image from the Weather Nerds website. Let's see what's happening right now. The very latest still image is showing 0015 UTC, which is actually 7:15 p.m. So this just came out 11 minutes ago, considering that it's 7:26 p.m. right now. And we can make out some of the leftover clouds right here to the west of the island. But we can make out some clouds right here to the east and the north of Portland. Very interesting. Although they are faint, they're definitely there. But do we have any rainfall within all of that? Let's see. Oh, thankfully, the Cuban Doppler radar seems like it's back up and running. Yes, it's definitely back up and running. It's showing April 4, which is today, and it's also showing 8:20 p.m. as the latest imagery being shown. And we know 8:20 p.m. in Cuba is 7:20 p.m. right now, so this just came out 6 minutes ago, considering that it is 7:26 p.m. now, and we're not seeing much of anything to the northeast of Portland. So I guess those clouds are just there to block out the stars. But we can make out some of the rainfall right here to the west of Jamaica, all courtesy of what took place today. Just some grains, all of that dissipating as we speak. That represents some moderate rainfall. And if we take a look at the Guantanamo Bay Cuban Naval Radar imagery, let's reload this. Now we have the very latest to show. Alright, so actually it was definitely raining out there between Haiti and Jamaica, but clearly whatever is pushing westward is dissipating the more west it goes for sure. So it was raining. So all of these clouds that we see right here definitely had some moisture within them. Alright, so let's see what's taking place on the Cayman radar. Let's reload this, that we have the very latest to show. Alright, so the latest Cayman radar is showing a line of showers right here to the west of Jamaica, pushing westward to the south of the Cayman Islands. Nothing taking place in terms of bad weather across both islands as we speak. If we take a look right here at See Jamaica's YouTube channel showing the live camera in Barbican, you can see people going about their business in their vehicles. Definitely dry conditions being experienced as we speak, and that should be the order of the evening. If we take a look at the temperatures right now, you can see that we have 26 degrees Celsius in both Montego Bay and Kingston, and by about 4 a.m. on Saturday, temperature should dip down to about 23 degrees Celsius in Montego Bay, 22 degrees Celsius in Kingston. Taking a look at the temperature forecast for tomorrow, this map from GFS is valid for 18Z on Saturday, which is actually 1 p.m. on Saturday. We can see Jamaica right here for the most part embedded in the grays, and the grays, as we know, represents average temperatures. I know the average temperature for the month of April across Jamaica is around 88 degrees Fahrenheit, and that's converted to degrees Celsius, that's around 31.1 degrees Celsius. So that should be the temperature forecast for Jamaica on Saturday, 31.1 degrees Celsius. And we have a few maintenance outage advisories here from my JPS Online's Twitter page that we need to highlight, because we know that when we have power outages somewhere across Jamaica, it can definitely make the heat feel even worse because we don't have our fan or our AC to cool us down. So if you live or work in these areas, or if you have friends or relatives who live or work in these areas, let them know that a power outage is coming their way on Saturday, April 5, 2025. And we're referring to Pondside, Cold Spring, Rejoin, Axe and Adds, Cascade, Patty Hill, Cash Hill, Buxton, Success, Great Valley, Welcome and Rose leading off, all in the parish of Hanover from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. We're also referring to Jacks River Road, Hamilton Mountain, Days Mountain, all in the parish of St. Mary from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Higginland in St. Anne from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. as well. And we have some tips right here to beat the heat as usual. It states here, when outside, seek shade. Eat fresh, try eating cold foods such as salads and fruit. Rest, make sure you get enough sleep and rest if you're feeling tired. Soak, take a cool shower or bath to help you cool down. And I cannot stress enough the importance of staying hydrated throughout the day. Even if you're not thirsty, drink lots of water and put away those sugar drinks and drink water instead. Taking a look at the dry air map, we know that the dry air is represented by what we see here on the key on the bottom. That's the yellows, the oranges, the reds, and the whites, the inducers. And we see that there's a lot of dry air across the entire Atlantic basin. But we also see that there's a lot of yellows, especially across portions of the Caribbean. We also see some blues here and there that represents moist air. The yellows, as we know, represents the low end of the scale in terms of dry air. So that's what we want to see. We want to see more moist air. We want to see less dry air. And we see a lot of moist air across the eastern Pacific's intertropical convergence zone and the southern North Atlantic intertropical convergence zone has a lot of moist air as well. Regarding the Saharan dust forecast for 18 UTC on Saturday, which is actually 1 p.m. on Saturday, we can clearly see the browns represent the Saharan dust across the waters to the south of the basin, the southern main development region into portion of northern South America for sure. But we see that it's the low end of the scale in terms of Saharan dust, anywhere from 1 to 10 in terms of the intensity. What we don't want to see is all of the browns. Represents anywhere from 50 all the way up to 1,000 or more that we see across portions of Africa, Europe, and Asia right here. If we get all of that vigorous plume to push across the Atlantic into the Caribbean, that, as we know, will cause very hazy skies, not to mention trigger somewhat of respiratory illnesses in some persons. So we're indeed grateful that that is the forecast for Saturday at 1 p.m. Taking a look at the wave forecast for tomorrow, we still see that we have a lot of choppy seas. Choppy seas are represented by the purples into the pinks into the burgundies that we can see from the key on the bottom right. That represents anywhere from 2 all the way up to close to 3 meter wave heights. And clearly that's responsible, or what's responsible for all of this is the high pressure gradient right here. We can see the ridge of high pressure right here. High pressure, as we know, sends air all around it in a clockwise fashion, and we can see the strong northeasterly winds pushing through the Caribbean, then curving easterly, where we see the bright greens and yellows curving to more of a southeastern northwest kind of flow as we head into the western Caribbean and the Gulf right here. We can definitely see the bright greens into the yellows, represents anywhere from 20 to 25 all the way up to 30 knot winds. But regarding Jamaica's wave forecast for tomorrow, let's see what the waves are going to be like on Jamaica's south coast tomorrow. Let's see. Winds should be up, well, waves should be up to 2.9 meters right here to the south of St. Thomas, up to 2.7 right here to the south of St. Elizabeth. On the north coast, maybe up to 2.2 meter wave heights. All the winds are going to be strong because of the waves that are expected, or the waves are going to be strong because of the winds that are expected. You can clearly see the winds are going to be coming out of the east, averaging 50 knots on the north coast, definitely less in terms of the wind speeds on the north coast. But it's the south coast where we have all of the bright greens and the yellows. 23 knots for sure, maybe even gusting up to near to gale force. Gale force, as we know, is about 34 knots. And the upper level winds are still going to be coming in from the northwest. So if we actually get some more convection similar to what we had today, the upper level winds are going to be blowing those convection clouds, those high cloud tops, up towards the southeast, maybe bringing some overcast skies section to some southern parishes once again. And regarding where the rainfall is expected within the next 24 hours, both maps here from the Euro and the GFS are showing 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, which is actually 7 a.m. Jamaica time. And what do we see on both maps? We see some blues represent rainfall across the waters between Cuba and Jamaica. We also see some of these blues across portion of northeastern Jamaica. So maybe a repeat of what happened today in the morning. Some rainfall, maybe some isolated shores at that, across section of Portland, maybe spilling into section of eastern St. Thomas or St. Mary. Then by around 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, which is actually 3 p.m. Jamaica time, we see some similarities, we see some differences. The Euro is trying to incorporate eastern, central, and western parishes in some of that afternoon rainfall at 3. The GFS is more so northwestern parishes, maybe incorporating Westmoreland, northern St. Elizabeth, northern Manchester. You also see some of the blues extending all the way down into portion of southern St. Mirror, northeastern St. Catherine. It's going to be interesting to see how it all plays out. Either way, clearly it's going to be a similar forecast to today. Rainfall across northeastern parishes in the morning, maybe some isolated showers across sections of some central and western parishes during the afternoon. And even the total accumulated precipitation forecast maps are in consensus that it's going to be raining somewhere in Jamaica within the next 24 hours. Both maps right here are showing all the rainfall that's expected from now up until 10 p.m. on Saturday. And we can clearly see eastern Jamaica has a total of 0.23 of an inch of rainfall according to the latest Euro. Latest GFS only up to 0.1 of an inch of rainfall. The latest Euro is showing something similar out west. The GFS is a bit more robust, going up to 0.4 of an inch of rainfall. We'll see how it actually plays out, and whatever happens, we'll definitely take it. We're in the month of April. We usually receive an increase in the amount of rainfall during this month compared to last month. We know March is the driest month of the year. So whatever rainfall we get, we'll definitely take it. We're wrapping up the dry period, heading into the secondary rainy season in April. In Kingston, during the month of April, we can clearly see that Kingston usually receives up to maybe 35, maybe close to 40 millimeters of rainfall for the month of April. In Montego Bay, whose bar graph is being shown right here at the bottom, for the month of April, we can clearly see that they usually receive up to maybe 3.7 inches of rainfall. Either way, if you'd like to find out what your parish usually receives for the month of April in terms of rainfall, or for the entire year, you can visit weatherandclimate.com, and that website will show you that information. And you can use this nice graphic right here that converts rainfall from inches to millimeters. We know that 1 inch of rainfall is about the same as 25 millimeters of rainfall, so you can do the math yourself. Alright, so that's it for the forecast across Jamaica. Let us focus our attention on the rest of the Caribbean. Alright, so as stated, we have some low to mid-level clouds being steered from east to west across the Caribbean. Some of these clouds definitely have some moisture within them, and we see a lot of bad weather taking place across portion of the central US. Lots of tornadic activity taking place, lots of heavy rainfall for sure these days. Very interesting. If you have friends or relatives who live over there, let them know that you know what's going on. Ensure that they're staying safe for sure. But regarding the actual rainfall that's taking place across the Caribbean, let's see what's taking place over there right now. Will it load for me? I think it's loading. Let's give it a second. Alright, here we go. We're gonna look down here across the northeastern Caribbean, where the latest time period is showing 7:35 p.m. and we see that this just came out 3 minutes ago, considering that it's 7:38 p.m. right now. Clearly we have some rainfall across a portion of eastern, central, and western Puerto Rico. Just some light to moderate rainfall at that. We also see some rainfall the east of Antigua and Barbuda, to the south of Guadeloupe, to the west of Montserrat. And if we load these images from earlier today at around 150, you can see the moisture pushing through the Leeward Islands, the moisture pushing through portions of Puerto Rico as well. And regarding where the rainfall is expected within, regarding what the Barbados radar is showing, I don't see much of anything happening across Barbados or the waters to the north of Barbados at this time, but we do see a lot of moisture passing to the south up there from east, northeast, west, southwest, coming through the Grenadine Islands as we speak, to the east of Grenada, so maybe Grenada might get in on some of the isolated shores if they're not already getting in on that. We also see some of that moisture pushing towards Trinidad and Tobago, so maybe some more rainfall for them this evening. If we take a look at what the Doppler radar images, we can see some moderate to heavy rainfall affecting portions of Colombia, sections of eastern Venezuela, sections of Guyana, Suriname as well. And regarding where the rainfall is expected within the next 24 hours, both maps here from the year and the GFS are adamant that it's going to be raining within the next 24 hours across sections of Jamaica, sections of Dominican Republic, Puerto Rico, sections of Anguilla, Antigua and Barbuda, Montserrat, Guadeloupe, Dominica. We see a line of moisture right here on both the year and the GFS models. Very interesting. Scrolling down, we can also see that moisture that's already plaguing portion of Trinidad and Tobago, eastern Venezuela, Guyana, Suriname, French Guyana, southern and western Venezuela, sections of Colombia, Panama, Costa Rica, eastern Nicaragua, section of eastern Honduras, section of southern Guatemala, sections of El Salvador in the mix, maybe western El Salvador, and we can clearly see that both the Euro and the GFS models are in agreement with that forecast. And we know that when they're in agreement like this, the chances of it actually happening are much higher. Alright, so that's it for today. Thanks for watching.